Hello everyone, welcome back to JDCodebase. This is the web development series. In this video, we are going to learn one of the most important topics in JavaScript: promises, fetch API, and asynchronous and await. Async and await. So now I want to be very honest with you. If you understand this topic properly, you will understand how real website talk to the server. Login, sign up, product, dashboard, API, everything depend on this. If you are a beginner, don't worry at all. I will explain everything slowly, step by step, with the real example and code. So also PPT and code links are available in the video description, so you can practice after watching. So let's get started. Now in this video, you will learn what promises are in JavaScript, how promises work internally, promise chaining using the .10, and what fetch API is and why we use it, how to call an API, and what asynchronous and await means. Async and await is and how async await makes code simple, how to handle error properly. By the end of this video, async JavaScript feel easy, not scary. Now, why asynchronous code is important? Before promises, we need to understand one very important rule is the JavaScript is a single threaded. This means JavaScript can do only one thing at a time. Now imagine this, you click a button and JavaScript makes an API call. The server takes 5 seconds to respond. If JavaScript waits for that response without async, your entire website will breach. Button would not work, scrolling would not work, UI will hang. That's why we need asynchronous code. Asynchronous code allow non-blocking operation, better performance, smooth user experience. And example of asynchronous work is the API call, fetching data from server, timers like set timeout, file uploads. Now, what is a promise? A promise represents value that will available later. Simple meaning is the I promise to give you the result in the future. Think like this: you order food online, order placed, it is in pending state. Food deliver, it is the fulfilled state. Order cancel, then it is rejected. That's exactly how promise works. Now every promise has three states: pending, fulfill, rejected. Pending means still working, fulfill means the success, rejected means the failed. Now important rule here is the once a promise is fulfilled or rejected, its states can never change. So let's write a new promise, in the VS Code. So let's create a const my promise equal to new promise, and it takes its value is a function, and inside this it takes the value resolve and reject. And let's say let success is equal to true, and okay, I have to write here curly braces, not a square bracket. Now if success is true, then resolve this promise data received success, else this it means reject, something went wrong. Okay, just a similar normal if else condition, and write a checking condition. So new promise, create a promise. This keyword new promise, create a new promise. It takes a function, this arrow function I write here, and that function get two things: resolve, reject. And resolve for the success, reject for the error. If the success is true, data means promise is fulfilled, and if success is false, promise is rejected. So how to use this a promise means just write my promise dot then, and result, it takes the means function, and inside this console.log result. Else if any error comes, then Catch also take a function, means error function. Then I'm writing error is the console.log error, and this also take a finally block dot finally, and this is also take a arrow function console.log promise completed. Yes. So dot then runs when promise is successful, means and dot catch runs when promise fails. Dot finally runs no matter what, whether the promise is fail or the promise is pass. This is how we handle result from the promises. Now if I run here node 20, data received success, promise is completed, and I just here the success is true. It says resolved, data received success, and promise completed every time. If I make it false, now let's see, something went wrong, promise not completed, from I reject, something went wrong, and promise completed. And here the finally block run every time, whether it is true or not, false, every time it runs. Now we also use the promise, means now let's see the chaining. Now running multiple asynchronous tasks one after another. Example is the like get the user, then get user post, then get the comment. So each dot then returns a new promise. That's why chaining works like this promise, then, and catch. So this avoid callback hell and keep code readable. So let's see in the means if I say what is the without promises, why we use the promises actually. So code becomes deeply nested, means callback hell, hard to read, hard to debug, and error handling is the messy in the callbacks. So promise solve these problem. Now what is a fetch API? So fetch API is used to talk to the server and get or send the data. So important point here is the fetch return a promise. Fetch works like with the REST APIs. REST APIs like get, post, put, delete. Don't worry if you don't know. I will explain in a separate video about the REST APIs. Now let's see the basic fetch flow. The fetch process looks like fetch send the request, no matter whether I'm sending the get or post, put, delete, and server respond back. Then response is converted to the JSON and data is used in the UI. Just a four step in this fetch flow. Now let's make a real API example. So for that, just write fetch keyword, and inside this I have to give the URL. Like here also VS Code gives the input request URL. So for URL I have a this website. This website gives the dummy data. Like if you want to get the user data, to-dos data, photos, album, comments, and post, and also how much data you want. So let's say user data. So if you see here, this is an array and in the JSON format. So for that, I'm just copy this link, and I will also provide in the video description this link. You can also use them in your project for play. Dot then, and it's take the value response. I'm just write res for response dot, and a callback function, and it's return the response dot JSON. Okay, no issue with that. I'm then get the value dot then. Now this time I get the data from this above value, and console.log that data, and also I have to give the handle the means error block also, means by using the catch error, and console.log error, and inside this give this error. So now let's run this code. If you see, this is the same data I show you in this browser. I like here ID1 name plan gram rat. So if you name username rat email same data I'm get here, and here I just means first make it into JSON format, then I get the data value here. So fetch send the request to this URL https JSON placeholder, and first dot then convert response to the JSON format, this one. Then second dot then gives the actual data, and this catch handle the error. Like if I make a error here, I just remove this as, means this URL is now break. Now let's run this. I get this empty. Why? Because maybe this now let me break the UI complete. So let's see. Wait. See, error is a type error, fetch failed. Why? Because I break the URL completely. That's why I get the error type error, fetch failed. Now fetch error handling, important interview point. Fetch does not reject or HTTP error like 404. 404 is for not found. 500 for the internal server error. So we must check manually. If response.ok is not okay, then throw an error, throw new error request failed. So next most important part is the best part of this video is the async await. Async await is built on the top of promises, and it makes the async code looks like the normal synchronous code. Like here, if you see this new promises and dot and dot catch, this is like a normal, not a normal code, but async await makes them into a simple asynchronous code. Benefit for this is like cleaner syntax, easy to read, easy to debug. Now there are some rules you must remember. Async function always return a promise. Await works only inside the async function, and await pauses the execution until the promise is resolved. Don't worry, I will show you in the VS Code in a practical way. Now let's rewrite the same fetch code, means same this URL. Just write async, start with the async keyword, a function, async function, and give the name get user data, and here parameter I did not require any parameter, and write try catch block. This is most important way to handle the errors inside the async await. Now const response is equal to await fetch. Here the fetch is same as is this fetch, so don't worry about this fetch, and give this URL. Now if response dot not okay, I'm writing here not, I write this insert this not operator. So throw new error says API error, and else if the response is okay, then just get the data, const data is equal to await. Await is for the means waiting for the complete the fetch data. Response dot JSON convert into the JSON format, into then console.log this data normal, and inside this catch block handle the error also, console.log error is the error. So let me call this function get users. Let's try to fail. Okay, I have to stop this first because Now let's again run this. Console.log async await. Now let's run this and let me comment this. So I get the now this data from this URL, and same from this means if any error comes like I remove this R from this, then let's see. Wait. As expected, the error type error and fetch failed means this I'm not able to fetch this API, and I get the type error in fetch failed. So here async allow us to use the await in the function, and await fetch wait for the response until the this data does not come. It waits, and code runs from top to bottom approach, and try catch handle here the errors cleanly. So this is why most real projects use the async await. Now promises versus the async await. Promises is a dot then chaining hard for the beginner, like this simple code here, the dot fetch dot then dot fetch, and here I am just initialize a function, a variable const response, a if condition, and get the data. Just a simple normal line of code like a synchronous. And here I have to write the fetch dot then dot that, just a massive one. So async await is the simple, clean, look like normal code and easy to understand. Now real world API flow is in real website. User click the yes. So user click the button, API request sent, data fetch, UI updated, and error handled. And used in the mostly in the login, product pages, dashboard, forms, means in the mostly in the REST APIs. Now some best practices: always handle the errors. Prefer the async await instead of the writing the promises, and avoid long promises change, and keep API logic separate, and show the loading state also. So let's quickly recap. Promise handle the async work, fetch API talks to the server, async await make the code readable, error handling is very important. Now, if this topic felt confusing before and now it feels clear, that means you are learning. And asynchronous JavaScript is not hard. It just needs clear explanation, practice, and some time to remember. And PPT and code links are available in the video description. Like, share, and subscribe to JDCodebase. See you in the next video.